Those damn socks, he muttered under his breath, his tone sharp and filled with irritation. Jungkook was in a terrible mood. It had been over 15 minutes and he still couldn't find his socks. His once neat and tidy wardrobe now looked like a war zone. Clothes were scattered everywhere and drawers were pulled out. He was fuming, his eyes narrowed in frustration as he angrily tossed another shirt onto the floor. Damn, I'm running late. He continued to search. Jungkook wasn't a man who liked delays, especially not today, when he had an important meeting with some of his associates. Just then the bedroom door creaked open and you walked in holding a steamed cup of coffee. You were dressed in a simple outfit, your hair tied back and a soft, concerned expression on your face. As soon as you stepped in, you were greeted by the sight of the messy room. Clothes were everywhere, and Jungkook stood in the middle of it all, looking like a storm had just passed through. Jungkook, he called softly, stepping closer to him. Do you need any help? Jungkook didn't even look at you. He kept searching through the wardrobe, his back turned to you. His jaw was clenched, and you could see the tension in his shoulders. I can search for it by myself. I don't need your help, he said seriously. You sighed quietly, not surprised by his response. It had been 3 months since you got married to Jungkook, and you were used to his coolness by now. He didn't like you, and he didn't try to hide it. But even though you knew that he didn't care for you, it still hurt sometimes. You had hoped that maybe with time things would get better between you two, but so far that hope seemed like a distant dream. You walked over to the bed and set the coffee cup on the nightstand, trying to ignore the pain in your chest. It's okay, I just thought I could help you find them faster, you said softly. He finally turned to look at you, his dark eyes narrowing. I don't need your help. I can take care of myself, he repeated, his voice cold. You nodded, not wanting to push him any further. Alright, but I'm here if you change your mind. Jungkook huffed in frustration, turning back to the wardrobe. His hands were trembling slightly as he continued his search, but you noticed he was moving slower now, as if he was starting to feel the weight of his anger. Jungkook, you said after a moment, your voice soft and hesitant. What? He replied, still not looking at you. I know you're upset, but I just want you to know that I'm here for you. I know things have been hard since we got married, but we're in this together, whether we like it or not. He froze at your words. For a moment there was silence between you two, and you wondered if you had said something wrong. But then he let out a long, frustrated sigh and his shoulders slumped. I know, he muttered, his voice barely above a whisper. I know we are stuck in this, but that doesn't mean I have to like it. You don't know what to do or say to make things better, so you simply turned and walked towards the door. I will leave you alone, but if you need anything at all, just let me know, you said softly and left from there. Jungkook looked at the closed door and slapped his face as if he felt that he said something hurtful to you. Few more days wine. You came to the balcony letting out a heavy sigh. The memory of how you ended up married to Jungkook flooded your mind, and it was a painful one. Your marriage wasn't built on love or even mutual respect. It was the result of something else. You and Jungkook had known each other since childhood. Both of your families were deeply involved in the Mafia world, and because of that, You were often thrown together at various events and gatherings. But instead of becoming friends, you and Jungkook had always been like oil and water. You argued constantly and your fights were legendary. While other kids played together, you and Jungkook couldn't stand the sight of each other. As both grew older, the rivalry between you didn't fade. It only became more intense. Jungkook was strong, independent, and fiercely proud, while you were stubborn and just as determined to hold your ground. The idea of marrying him had never even crossed your mind. It would have been like asking a cat and a dog to live peacefully together. But your parents had other plans. Both families thought a marriage alliance between you and Jungkook would strengthen their power in the Mafia world. When the idea of marriage was proposed, you were shocked but nearly as much as Jungkook. He flatly refused, saying there was no way he would marry someone like you. He didn't want to be tied down, especially not to someone he considered his enemy. That's when things took a dark turn. Your stepsister, who had a desire for him, feeling unwell, you decided to go to your room in the hotel where the party was being held. But in your dazed state, you ended up in the wrong room, Jungkook's room. You stumbled inside, your mind clouded by whatever your stepsister had put in your drink. Jungkook, who was equally out of it, saw you come in, and his dazed state mistook you for someone else. That night things changed and damage had happened for you both. Because of it, his grandmother forced you both to get married to correct the mistake that happened, as she thought only marriage can do it. Since then, Jungkook had made it clear that he didn't want you in his life. He never forgave you for what had happened, even though it wasn't entirely your fault. As you stood in the balcony lost in your thoughts, you suddenly felt a gentle hand on your shoulder. You turned around slowly, and there stood Harmony, Jungkook's grandmother, with a kind expression on her face. "Are you thinking about the marriage?" she asked, her voice gentle. You hesitated for a moment, unsure of how to respond, but then you realized there was no point in hiding the truth from her. She had always been straightforward with you, and you respected her too much to be anything but honest. "Yes, Harmony," you admitted softly. Harmony nodded slowly, as if she had expected your answer. "Do you think I made a mistake by making you and Jungkook get married?" she asked, her eyes searching yours for any sign of doubt or regret. You shook your head firmly, wanting to make sure she understood how you truly felt. "No, Harmony," you replied, your voice steady. "Jungkook doesn't like me, but I love him, and I believe that we just need time to get used to each other to find a way to make this work." Harmony's expression softened. "I know it's been hard for you, but why do you love him despite everything?" she said quietly. "The day I heard about Jungkook's dream of marriage, it changed everything for me. He wants to love his only wife, to have a real marriage, built on trust and loyalty. That's not something you hear often in our Mafia world, where men like him often have more than one wife or mistress." You paused, remembering the pain in your mother's eyes every time she thought about your father's second marriage. "My mother suffered a lot because of my father's second marriage, and I have seen how other Mafia wives are treated, like they are replaceable, but Jungkook is different. He is strong, yes, but he also someone who values loyalty. That's why I fell for him even before we got married. I know he doesn't feel the same way about me now, but I believe that if you give it time, things can change. She looked at you proudly. Loving someone who doesn't love you back is never easy, but you're right. Jungkook is different. He just needs time to see what's right in front of him. You smiled faintly, feeling a little lighter after sharing your feelings with her. I still remember the day Jungkook gave me a bouquet on my birthday. There was a letter with it, and even though it was just a small gesture, it meant a lot to me. It showed me that there is more to him than the tough exterior he always shows the world. Hopefully, he will answer about that letter. Be strong, everything happens for a good. Let's go and have some coffee. With that, you both went downstairs. You came to the kitchen and started preparing coffee, but suddenly you started feeling nauseated. You ignored thinking gas built up in your stomach. Jungkook arrived home late that evening, his face a mask of cold expression. He had just sealed a massive weapons deal, one that would strengthen his position in the Mafia world. But despite the success, his mood was dark as ever. The moment he walked through the door, you noticed the tension in his posture, the way his jaw was set in that familiar hard line. You stepped forward, trying to offer a small gesture of comfort. Jungkook, would you like some coffee? You asked, your voice soft. He didn't even look at you. No, he replied coldly, walking past you as he made his way to the bedroom. With a sigh, you turned away, trying to focus on anything other than the growing ache in your chest. Later, as dinner was being served, you joined Jungkook at the dining table, hoping for a moment of peace between the two of you. Jungkook, can I serve you? But as soon as you got up, he turned to the maid instead of you. Serve the dinner, he ordered, his tone leaving no room for argument. The maid came hurriedly and started serving him, but you started feeling nauseated after inhaling the food smell. It was happening since afternoon. Because of this reason, you could not be able to eat lunch in the afternoon too. You quickly got out from there and went to the bedroom where Jungkook thought you left because of him, and he didn't try to stop you as he thought he was successful in hurting you. After a while in the bedroom, Jungkook entered and saw you standing near the window. Why didn't you have dinner? Even though he wantedly hurt you, he could not take that you were going to sleep on an empty stomach. I'm not hungry. Don't do this. Go and eat. Sleeping on empty stomach is not good for health. Why are you suddenly concerned about me? Please don't act like you worry about me. You said those words accidentally as you were not in a good mood. Jungkook's expression darkened. You also don't need to act like you love me, Wine. I have already told you that I don't like this marriage. So why are you still here? Is it for power and money? His words hit you like a punch to the gut. You stared at him shocked and hurt. I'm not that kind of girl. I already have so much money. You defended yourself, your voice shaking with emotion. But Jungkook didn't seem to hear you. His eyes were cold. Then why? Why do you stay when you know I don't want this? Before you could answer, your vision began to blur. The room spun around you and a wave of dizziness hit you hard. You reached out to steady yourself, but your legs gave out and you collapsed into Jungkook's arms. Ryan, his voice was filled with panic, a different personality to the coolness he would shown just moments ago. He held you tightly, his heart racing as you realized something was seriously wrong. Ryan, open your eyes. He quickly scooped you up in his arms and carried you to the bed, his mind racing with fear. Harmony, he shouted, his voice trembling. Someone call a doctor now, he shouted loudly. Harmony rushed into the room, her face pale with worry. She didn't ask questions, she just nodded and immediately called for the doctor. Jungkook held her hand, his grip firm as he tried to keep his emotions in check. Ryan, please wake up, he whispered. His voice was trembling. The doctor arrived within minutes, and Jungkook slowly stepped back, giving her space to check you. Harmony stood by his side, her hand on his arm, trying to offer him some comfort. His grandmother was surprised and also shocked to see, as he was being so concerned about you suddenly. After a thorough examination, the doctor looked up, her expression serious but calm. She is fine, but she needs rest. Then, with a small smile, she added, Congratulations, Mr. John, your wife is pregnant. Jungkook stared at the doctor, his mind struggling to process the words. Pregnant? He repeated, almost in disbelief. Harmony's face lit up with joy, but Jungkook remained frozen, his mind racing with a mix of emotions. He looked down at you as you look at him lying on the bed. And for the first time in a long while, he felt something stir in his heart, something he hadn't allowed himself to feel. Fear, hope, and maybe even a little bit of love. As the doctor left, Harmony turned to Jungkook, her eyes shining with tears of happiness. You see, Jungkook, this is a sign, a new beginning. Jungkook didn't respond immediately, he just stood there, staring at you, his thoughts a tangled mess. Finally he nodded slowly, his mind still reeling from the news. A new beginning, he echoed quietly as if trying to convince himself. Harmony placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. Take care of her, Jungkook. She needs you now more than ever. Jungkook nodded again, his gaze never leaving your face. He didn't know what the future held, but as he stood there watching over you, he realized that everything had just changed for both of you. Jungkook, are you happy about this news? You asked with a hope.